Hi, everyone. Before we get started, I wanted to share a new podcast that I think you'll love to listen to. It's called the Finna Mendoza Mysteries. Take a listen, then subscribe wherever you listen to podcasts.
Every year, the president goes up to Capitol Hill to tell Congress what he wants it to do. It's called the State of the Union Address. But something strange happened. In the middle of the speech, a bird pooped on the president's head, and everybody in Washington was out to find that bird. Even me. My name is Fina Mendoza. I solve mysteries in the U.S. Capitol. I get some help from a big orange dog named Senator Something. Together, we are on the trail of this mysterious bird that might be a mythical creature from the Caribbean called a chick-charney.
You can follow Fina and Senator Something on the new season of the Fina Mendoza Mysteries, starting May 3rd, wherever you listen to podcasts.
Welcome to another episode of Henry's Library. I'm your host, Jacqueline Douge. Parents and kids, I want to let you know today's the last episode of season 1, and we are so excited that you joined us on this adventure to join me, Henry, and his friends Dogbear, Curry, and Birdie to learn all about science and get excited about science and get excited about reading books. We can't wait to be back to join you for season 2. So I hope you enjoy this episode. And if you love the other episodes, you can re-listen to them while you're waiting for the upcoming season. Let's get started with today's adventure, Recycled Robots. It was a sunny afternoon. Mom had picked Henry up from school. He sat quietly in the back seat thinking about what he learned in school today. When they arrived home, Henry immediately ran up to his room instead of grabbing a snack and going to the backyard to play with Dogbear. Dogbear could sense something was wrong and went to the backyard to call an emergency meeting with Curry and Birdie. While Dogbear talked with his friends about Henry, Henry's mom also knew that something was wrong. She went upstairs to check on him. She knocked on his door and saw that he was sitting under his blanket fort. "Hey," she said, "is everything okay?" "No, Mom." "It sounds like you're worried about something," Mom said. "Is it something that happened at school?" "Did you know that we need to take care of the planet?" Henry asked. "Yes, that's very important," Mom said, sitting down next to Henry. "Did you learn about that in school today?" "Yeah, we had a special guest. Her name was Mrs. Taylor. She's an environmental scientist. She helps to protect the environment like the land, water, and air to make sure it's healthy and keep us all healthy." "That sounds like an important job," Mom said. "She told us all about what we can do to keep the environment healthy and clean," Henry said. "I get it. I feel it's important to care about our environment too," Mom said. "Did she share any ideas about how we can help?" "Yeah, she said we can do things like recycle and bring a reusable water bottle to school instead of using plastic bottles," Henry said. "Sounds like great ideas," Mom said. "But it still sounds like you think there's more we should do. Am I right?" "Yeah," Henry said. "I want our environment to be healthy. We have to do something." "Have you thought about what you want to do?" Mom asked. "I've been thinking and thinking, and there's so much to do that I don't know what to do," Henry said. "It's a lot to think about. Helping the environment is a very important thing, and keeping it healthy is important. You know what I do sometimes when I have to think about important things?" "What?" Henry asked. "I take a pause to do something else that I like to do, like reading, take a few breaths in and out, or go for a walk," Mom said. "The pause gives my brain a rest. After my brain is rested, I usually can think of new ideas." I like playing outside with my friends," Henry said. "I think I'll take a pause by going outside." "Sounds like a great idea," Mom said. "I'll let you know when dinner's ready." Henry gave his mom a hug and went outside to join his friends. "I don't like that idea," Curry said. "Why don't you like it?" Dogbear asked. "It doesn't include acorns. I know acorns would cheer him up. They always help me feel better." "Curry, I think it's wonderful that you have those ideas to help Henry, but Henry's not a squirrel," Birdie said, reminding Curry. "Hey guys," Henry greeted his friends. "He's here now, and I think my plan will work," Dogbear said. "I agree," Birdie said. Curry folded his arms and shook his head. He began to think about acorns. He loved acorns and didn't understand why no one else loved them as much as he did. "What plan?" Henry asked. "My plan was to ask you how you're feeling," Dogbear said. "I told him that you ran upstairs to your room after you came home from school." I'm worried about our planet, and I want to do something to help keep it healthy. But now I want to play outside with my friends, Henry said. It'll help me rest my brain and have fun. Henry and his friends decided to play hide and seek and played until dinner time. During dinner, Henry shared with his dad what happened in school and how he was feeling. He also told him about Mom's idea to take a pause and how much it made him feel better. I have an idea, Henry said. We'd love to hear it, Dad said. I want to go to the library to investigate some ideas. Can we go tonight before it closes? Sure, I think we can do that, Dad said. We'll go out to dinner. Henry and his dad arrived at the library. Henry hoped that Mrs. Simon was working today. Come on, Dad, Henry said, pulling on his dad's hand. His dad was looking at some gardening books. As Henry tried to convince his dad not to pick up another book, Mrs. Simon walked by. Hi, Henry, Mrs. Simon said. Do you have a new investigation? Hi, Mrs. Simon, Henry replied. Yes, but Dad is just reading another book about plants. Mrs. Simon greeted Henry's dad and spoke with him. Thank you for talking to my dad about helping me pick a book, Henry said. He left his dad holding 5 books and looking for more. Your dad said that you want to learn about ways to help the environment and need some ideas. Yeah, I think a book would help me come up with some ideas, Henry said. Mrs. Simon stopped at her computer, then sat down to see if the book she wanted to recommend to Henry was in the library. She found that it was in the library. Mrs. Simon and Henry walked over to the bookshelves to find the book. This book is Magic Trash, a story of Tyree Guyton and his art by J.H. Shapiro and illustrated by Vanessa Brantley Newton. I think this might give you an idea. Henry took the book from Mrs. Simon, then looked into the main part of the library and saw his dad reading. He had an idea. He took out the silver tin with the feather bookmark from his pocket. Would you like to take a trip with me? He asked. After Mrs. Simon nodded yes, he held onto her hand. Hold on. Henry touched the book with the feather bookmark and they both traveled into the book. Inside the book, Henry and Mrs. Simon walked around. They were walking around the city of Detroit and Mr. Guyton's neighborhood, and they were amazed at all the artwork that he painted. Henry then heard his dad's voice calling him. I think it's time to go, he said, and he and Mrs. Simon found themselves back in the children's section of the library. Did you enjoy your trip, Mrs. Simon? Henry's dad asked. I did, Mrs. Simon said. I can see why Henry and his friends have so much fun, but the wind does make a bit of a mess of the books. Sorry, Mrs. Simon, Henry said. It's all right. I remember what happened after your other trips. I hope that book gave you some ideas. It did, thank you, Henry said. Henry and his dad borrowed their books and then walked back home. Later that night, Henry's mom helped Henry FaceTime with his grandmother. He was excited to tell her about his day, adventure, and the idea that Mrs. Simon helped him discover. You look so excited, Grandma said. I am, Henry said. Henry began to tell his grandmother about what happened in school and about how he wanted to help make a difference. He then came to the part about his big idea. I want to make art using things that can be recycled like paper, bottles, and stuff like that, Henry said. I want to make a difference in my community. I can't change the whole world, but I can make a change where I live. What kind of art do you want to make? Grandma asked. A robot, Henry said excitedly. I want to build a bunch of robots. I want people to know how important it is to keep our community healthy and that art can help. I want to be just like Mr. Tyree Guyton. That sounds wonderful, Grandma said. Can I help? Sure, Henry said, smiling. I'll be home next week and can't wait to help you with your art project, Grandma said. When next week came, Henry's grandmother had arrived. She helped Henry, Dogbear, Curry, and Birdie build their recycled robots. Henry was so excited about how the recycled robots came out that he told his friends and his teacher. They all built their own recycled robots to help spread the word about the importance of making their community healthy for everyone to live and enjoy. Henry was happy to have his grandmother back and to know that he could help make a difference with his recycled robots. Thank you for joining us for this episode of Henry's Library. We hope you and your family enjoyed this story and learned something new, and maybe an idea or two that you want to investigate and learn about by reading books. Join us next week for another adventure with Henry, Curry, Dogbear, and Birdie. Parents, please rate, review, subscribe, and share the podcast. And we'd love to hear what your kids are learning and like about the show. You can send us a message via email to hi@whatisblack.co. You can also go to our website, whatisblack.co/Henry's Library Podcast, to see the books mentioned in this episode and links to fun activities. We encourage you to read the books from the episode together as a family. Books mentioned in this episode can be found at your local library or bookstore. We love all bookstores and hope that you consider checking out your local independent bookstores to support them.